Question 4, Part B, asks to calculate the amount in US dollars that Javier has remaining at the end of his trip from the initial 5,000 US dollars. And we're also given the information that whilst in Venezuela, he spends $1,250 US dollars. Now, this is important. He actually spent US dollars in Venezuela in addition to some Venezuelan bolivars. So there must be some shops or people over there that are accepting US dollars in addition to their local currency, which is pretty common for US dollars around the world. So this is important. Notice in Part A, he only exchanged 3,000 of his 5,000. So he still had 2,000 left over. So of that 2,000, he spent some US dollars, and then of his nearly 19,000 Venezuelan bolivars, he spent 12,000 of that. And then we're also given this currency exchange rate that when he converts his VEF back to US dollars at the end. Okay, so we need to find out how many US dollars he finally has at the end. Now, there's a few steps to this question. So I'm going to set up a little sort of step table. So step, and then I'm going to look at US dollars and Venezuelan bolivars. And just at each step calculate how much of each currency Javier has. So he initially starts with actually I'll remove the underline. He starts with 5,000 US dollars and 0 Venezuelan bolivars. This is before we even do Part A. He then does his first exchange, and this turns into 2,000 US dollars and 18,906.3 Venezuelan bolivars, and this is what occurred in Part A. So if you're unsure as to how we got to this line, I recommend going back and watching Part A. What I will talk about though is he only exchanged 3,000 US dollars. So therefore 5,000 minus 3,000, he's left with 2,000 US dollars. So at this point here, he has this much of each currency. He then spends I'll just shorten Venezuela to V. So let's subtract 1,250 and let's subtract 12,000, and that ends up with 750 US dollars, and this becomes 18,906.3 minus 12,000 becomes 6,906.3. If you're not sure how I got to that number, you can put that in your calculator. 18,906.3 subtract 12,000. So at this point, he has 750 US dollars and 6,906.3 Venezuelan bolivars. Now he's at the end of his trip and he wants to exchange his VEFs, the bolivars, back into US dollars, but he's not going to exchange his US dollars into US dollars because they're already in US dollars. So he's now going to do his second exchange. Okay, and we need to go ahead and do this exchange. So I'm just going to do this just in the corner just here. Now, same process to Part A for a currency conversion. We set up a little table. So in this case, we have VEF and US dollars. And then we put the exchange rate on the second line. So 1 US dollar gives 8.7268. We were given that in the question. And then the third row is the information that we're either given or trying to find out. So we know that it's 6,906.3, and he's converting this back into US dollars. So this is an unknown X. Okay, and then from here, I'm just going to give myself a bit of room, put this up. X will equal, we multiply the two numbers that are beside it and above it. So X will equal 6,906.3 times 1 divided by the number that's diagonal to it, 8.7268, and X will equal, now this isn't our final answer, it's just the amount of US dollars he receives back from his exchange. So to a fraction, 6906.3. Now we don't need to do the multiply by 1, so I'll leave that out. Divided by 8.7268 gives 791.39. 791.39. So if I just go back to my table now, on the right here, after the second exchange, still has his US dollars. However, this here will add to 791.39 because this is US dollars down here. Now let's do that addition in our calculator. We already have this 791.39, so I'm just going to add 750. And that becomes 1541.39. Okay, so just to recap, after the second exchange, when he comes back from Venezuela, he will have his 750 US dollars that was never exchanged or spent, plus 791.39 US dollars, which is exchanged back from the remaining Venezuelan bolivars, and that totals to be 1,541.39 US dollars. And that is our answer to part B, question 4.